All right.
Let's go.
Welcome back to Around the Arena. This is our second official episode. For those of you who joined us in our inaugural episode last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that we can keep these conversations interesting and continue to really delve into topics from different perspectives. Now, before we begin, I just want to do a quick shout out. Thank you, Khaled. This is awesome. So we were gifted a few different plaques. This is the NCAA Final Four ticket. I don't know if this is the championship game or not, but either way, this is amazing. This was the San Antonio final in 2004, and I believe
UConn.
Yeah, it was UConn who won their second title ever. So shout out to UConn. I have two cousins who go there or who went there. And, we're also going to be talking about Texas a little bit today. So I decided, let me just show off this one in particular out of the three that you gifted us. But thank you so much.
We need to get a hanging shelf.
For sure. Yeah, I promise in due course, these will go up properly as soon as we have a better setup.
Yep.
But thank you. And yeah, let's get to it, man.
That.
So on that note, right, on the note of basketball.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, so, some people think we only talk about basketball. We don't only talk about basketball, but it's the NBA
basketball
finals.
Season, yeah.
It's the NBA finals, right? So we decided, let's do an NBA finals preview, right? Now, there's going to be a lot of people talking about the NBA finals. Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, the Mavericks, the Celtics, blah, 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 right? A lot of chatter. Obviously, we can't not cover this, but we got to approach it from a different perspective as well, right?
Our own twist to it.
For sure. And so I wanted to kind of look at this. So we wanted to ask a few core questions, right? And the first question, or I guess the main question is, which team has the most to gain and which has the most to lose?
Right.
Now, of course, this is a very loaded question. There are a lot of, this is a team sport. There are a lot of players on these teams. So there's superstars, there's role players, but then we also have their franchises as well.
Yeah.
So I hope that we can kind of get some traction in this conversation and try to answer that question and maybe touch on all the little nuances that people don't normally think about when in anticipation of an NBA final.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, do you have any thoughts on, first of all, just to get off your chest before we really dive into it, are you excited about this final?
Yes, definitely excited.
Yeah.
I think that we got lucky seeing young stars go against each other. Luka, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kyrie, even though he's not young. But I'm just excited to break down something fresh, something new, a new matchup. We haven't seen something like this in a while. Although last year was a little bit fresh, with the Nuggets and the Heat. I don't know. It's just, it lacked juice. And this feels like there's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of anticipation, right? And although the Celtics are favorite, it would be no one would be surprised if the Mavs win it, right? So I'm just excited to kind of break it down, look at the numbers behind it, kind of, Luka, Tatum, if they win, they set themselves up nicely to be that next face of the NBA. At least they get that head start, right?
In continuation of our conversation from episode 1.
I'm excited to kind of just continue that conversation and now, talk a little bit more about the basketball.
Definitely.
And just, delve in a little bit deeper into the numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
And here we go. Let's do it, bro.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's do it. So this is a special finals. Kind of like what you had just alluded to. There's a lot of key things that are going on here. I'd like to list some off, maybe just to really spark it. So I think first and foremost, Luka Doncic and Tatum, right, the two superstars on these two teams, were both recently voted to the All-NBA first team this season.
Yep.
Now, these guys are both beasts. They've both made multiple All-NBA first teams before, but I think it's just a little bit more special when you have two of these players in the same season, almost the same exact age, who are playing at such a high level and are recognized by the media and by the league.
100%.
Right? So that's point number one. Point number two, and this actually surprised a lot of people, and I would love to get your thoughts on this. Maybe we can talk about this now or later in the episode. But when the Celtics won the Eastern Conference Finals, Jaylen Brown was actually named the MVP of the Conference Finals, right?
Yeah.
That sparked a lot of controversy. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that at one point.
Yeah, we will. We'll get into that for sure.
Third, Kyrie Irving, who was once a Celtic, and now a Maverick, is playing against his old team, and and I would think is being perceived as a villain, kind of coming back to the old territory, right? If you recall, I'm sure you remember, Kyrie, I think it was in 2017 and 2018, it was that particular season where he told the fans that he was going to re-sign with the team, right? During like this an entire event.
Yeah.
And then I think once he didn't re-sign and he went to the Brooklyn Nets and they revisited them in the playoffs. I don't know if it was the next year after that or 2 years after that.
Yeah.
He apparently stomped on the logo as well.
Stomped on the logo, like flicked off the fans, called him like a bitch or something.
That's
when he was like walking out into the tunnel, like into the locker room through the tunnel. A fan said like "F you, Kyrie," and he was like "Fuck you" or some shit like that.
Yeah,
it's like real beef, you know.
Yeah, animosity.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and like the story there that excites me the most, I think, is like I think that Celtics fans, they don't really care about Kyrie per se. They care about the way he treated them. You know, it was very much so an ugly breakup. You know, so I'm excited to.
Yeah,
bro, I've heard stories about that crowd, that Boston crowd.
What stories? Which
you know, LeBron and a lot of people saying they're, you know, you hear racist things, and Kyrie's he's very protective over things like that. He does not like that stuff being said. So I wonder if I hope that line is not crossed, but I wonder if that becomes like a mini storyline through it as well, you know, because he will not be quiet if he's hearing that, right? Like he's not just going to take it and shut up.
Do you think it'll motivate him to play better?
And that's why I'm like, you should be careful. Like if you're talking to him, you should be very careful. Luka, I mean, all the all-time greats love when somebody starts running their mouth, right?
That's
it's
true.
Like, do you really want to do that? You know, I don't think so, but I'm definitely excited to just see how that all plays out. Obviously, he's going to be booed every single time he touches the ball, but I still think that could make for like a beautiful show, a beautiful story.
I think you need that. And I think actually it kind of fulfills that desire for the rivalry that we had alluded to in our first episode as well, right? It's right now, like we said, there's a vacuum. A lot of these best players in the league aren't really being sufficiently challenged, especially at the biggest stage of the NBA. But now it feels like, okay, this could be a potential rivalry, moving forward for the next however many years, especially given the fact that the superstars on these teams are approximately the same exact age.
100%.
I mean, also we're the same age as them too. So,
yeah, that's crazy. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, we were having a conversation yesterday when we were discussing, you know, what would we refer to as our generation of basketball, and, right? And we have an instinctual, you know, it's instinctive to refer to LeBron and that Kobe as our generation, but as you said,
like, that's my era. But I'm like, is it really? Because we're the same age as Luka and Ant and these guys. So it's like I almost feel like they are our era.
I think
our generation.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm excited for these guys to put themselves in the history books. You know, like etch their names. The beginning of like a long story of their long career. Right?
I feel it. I really feel it. Honestly,
and it's beautiful. They're like this whole NBA season has felt like a transition of power, right? The whole season has felt this way, and I feel like now we put the stamp on it, you know? So I'm excited.
Totally. Cool. And for the fourth point, right? So the Celtics have home court advantage for the first time in the finals since the 2008 championship.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting as well. Just as a reminder, the last time they were in the finals was against the Warriors in 2022, and they lost in Game 6.
Yes.
And that was it would
in
be
Boston.
At home.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot is going on, and I forgot to mention Porzingis.
Yeah, he's going back to Dallas.
Yeah,
I don't think Luka likes him at all. I just think they really hate each other.
Damn, this is about to be so good.
And there's a video I saw on Twitter of Luka when he was in the Euro League, or it might have been the Euro League, or it might have been like the World Cup or something, U17 World Cup maybe. I can't remember, but Luka was playing against Kristaps' team, and he had him out in an ISO late game, step back, his patented step back. He hit it over him, was running his mouth. And I'm like, this goes farther than we understand.
Yeah.
You know, we can't comprehend. And then Kristaps I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he kind of openly said that he got to a point during his Mavs tenure where he just kind of quit. He felt like he wasn't being utilized to the best of his ability, and that everything just kind of ran through Luka, and he kind of felt like almost ostracized. So he was like, I just kind of quit mentally. He checked out. And I'm like, you're not supposed to say that. I mean, it's honest. I appreciate that. But Mavs fans are going to have some shit for him, just like Celtics fans have for Kyrie, right?
Yeah.
And I think Luka's going to have some shit for him as well. I promise you, I think he's going to be running his mouth.
Would it not like, how does he not feel that way on the Celtics? Like, do you think that he wants to be the main player on the team, the main superstar on the team,
No,
or?
I don't think it's that. And also, maybe to his credit, he has grown from that. He's like, well, maybe I was out of line a little bit. And when he went to Washington, maybe he kind of rehabilitated his mindset a little bit and was like, maybe I don't need to be the main guy because me being the main guy gets us not to even a play-in spot, So, and also, I think his role for the Celtics is good, all things considered. Like when you think about it, he's their rim protector. He can stretch the floor. He's valuable. And he's needed. If they want to win, he's going to need to play like a big role. So I think he's just learning through the course of his career.
Yeah, it's a maturation almost.
Yeah,
in a sense.
yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so to answer this question, right? Who has the most to gain and who has the most to lose? And also, there's implications for the NBA as a whole here, which we'll get to in a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say critics, but we've been pretty outspoken about the NBA's overall performance in the past few years.
100%.
To me, what's very interesting is that the Mavs and the Celtics are two franchises that, in my eyes, are actually quite similar. They're not exactly the same. Obviously, there's some major differences in there. But when I was doing my research and just kind of looking at, okay, where do they rank in relation to one another, right? So what is their status in relation to one another? And then what is their status in relation to the entirety of the NBA? I really wanted to get an understanding of that because I'm like, how can I really answer the question of who has the most to gain and who has the most to lose if I don't really know where they're at right now?
Yeah.
Right. And, they kind of led me to think, okay, like what does it mean to even win the NBA finals, right? What kind of impact does winning the finals actually have on the team, on its local community, on the players, right? So it kind of just led me into this rabbit hole. So I'll start with this, right? First of all, making the NBA finals, I feel you're going to win either way. And when I say you're going to win either way, I mean you're going to win on the court and off the court. Or if not on the court, you're going to win off the court, right? The amount of exposure that you're getting, the economic impact that you have on your community solely by just hosting the games. Even if you go like 4 or 5 games, you're going to have 2 in your local community at one point or another. That rakes in so much money, right?
And what's for the local economy, right?
For sure, right? I mean, I'll start there just because I think to the Bucks in 2021, right, when they won against the Suns, Visit Milwaukee, which is like their local sponsor, like their state sponsor.
Okay, yeah.
They released a bunch of data on like the impact of actually hosting the NBA Finals in Milwaukee.
Wow, okay,
right?
Cool.
And I came across a crazy number. So think about this. And this is not just for the finals. I should clarify that this encompasses the playoffs and the finals. So Milwaukee raked in $57.6 million in direct and indirect spending to the community over the course of the playoffs and the finals, which to me, I mean, like for a town like Milwaukee, it's a small market team. Their population is like 560,000 people. I mean, obviously they're representing all of Wisconsin, so it's bigger than that. But
for sure.
If we're talking about just the local impact of wherever the arena is situated, that's a lot of damn money. That's a lot of damn money. Right? Yeah. And I remember seeing
business.
Yeah, good for business. There was one reference where apparently Game 6 alone, where they actually won the championship, brought them in $5.8 million in that one night.
Wow. I mean, because they have the watch party outside of the arena, and then I'm sure they have the vendors right there. Yeah. They got food spots nearby. So the metro or whatever, the train. Yeah. So
all of it. Yeah, all of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
like, hotel occupancy, all these little things, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm blown away, right? So I'm thinking, okay, well, what's the impact gonna be for Dallas and Boston? Because these are like 2 large market teams. Like, how do you really like quantify the impact, or how do you conceptualize it? Just because I feel like with these 2 teams, like they've been around for a while, they're experienced, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
These are really these two cities are hubs in the United States. First of all, where are these 2 teams similar, right? So what kind of blew my mind was that, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Which team do you think is worth more?
Boston. Not even close.
Yes. So you're right.
Yeah.
It is worth more. Okay. But it is actually quite close.
Oh, really? Okay,
it's
cool.
Quite close.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How close?
So Forbes actually released a list of valuations for all the NBA franchises back in October of 2023.
Okay. Cool.
Very, very recent.
Cool.
And they valued the Celtics at $4.7 billion. Wow. Which is pretty good. Yeah. That's actually the 4th most valuable franchise in the NBA. Behind, I believe, the Warriors are number 1. Lakers are number 2, and then I think the Knicks are number 3, and then the Celtics come in at number 4 as the most valuable franchise.
Gotcha.
I mean, take another guess. Where do you think the Mavs sit in terms of
probably
the
6
ranks?
or 7?
Yeah, pretty good. Spot on.
Yeah, and why do you think that is? Why do you think they're so high on that list?
Well, that's a good question.
Is that the Cuban influence, or?
I think so,
Yeah.
for sure. So Cuban has actually owned the team since 2000. So he's owned the team for about 23 years. And there was big news last December when he actually closed the deal where he sold a 73% stake of the team, or a majority stake, to the Adelson family. But to answer your question first, for me, I looked at the revenues of the teams as well. I don't have the historical numbers, right? I only have from the last season, so 2022 to 2023. And I wanted to just see, okay, how much are these teams actually like generating, just to get a sense of like their performance? Because franchise value is a very static thing. These are private businesses, so they're not going to be valued constantly, right? There's no stock ticker that you can just check and see what the price of the company is at any given moment.
Yeah.
Right?
I wish. That'd be cool.
It'd be really cool. Yeah. So I checked that, and I looked at the Celtics, I looked at the Mavs, I looked at like the top 5 highest revenue generating teams in the NBA. The Celtics generated about $443 million in revenue last season. The Mavs generated $429 million.
Wow. Okay, very close.
Very, very close. And I was like, this is kind of interesting. So the Celtics are valued as the 4th most valuable franchise, but the Mavericks are valued as the 7th most valuable franchise. But the Mavs are actually 5th in the highest revenue generating franchise, right behind Boston.
Okay, cool.
So I'm like, they're actually closer than we think they are, right? And so when you're valuing businesses, right, there's a common way to do this, like back of the envelope calculation, which is called the revenue multiple. So usually you take the amount of money that a team is earning per year and you just multiply it by a certain number to get to their valuation, right? Okay. And I was wondering, okay, like this is a common tactic that's used in finance, private markets, public markets. So I was wondering, is there a common revenue multiple that's going on here in the NBA? And I checked, and there is actually. It's around 10. It's a 10x multiple. Okay. Right? So you would take the revenue of a team, multiply it by 10, and you roughly get what their franchise value is, right?
That's sick. Okay.
So I did that for the Warriors, I did it for the Lakers, I did it for the Celtics, for them, and it was roughly around 10. It's like 10.3, 10.5, 10.02.
Gotcha.
But it's hovering around there, right? They're not significant differences. So I'm like, interesting. So when I see that, I think, well, the Mavs are so close. They're less than 20 million away from reaching the Celtics yearly revenue.
Yeah.
They have to be valued almost at the same amount, right?
Right.
So they're not far behind at all.
That's interesting.
They're not far behind.
And what makes that little bit of a difference? And what do you think it would take for them to overtake the Celtics?
It's a great question.
Do you have any idea? Do you have any kind of maybe hypothesis?
This is when we're opening the can of worms a little bit because it's way more nuanced, right? Yeah. So we can talk about player popularity. We could talk about success, year-over-year success in the finals and the playoffs, etc. If I had to guess, I would say, one, they have a global fan base. So I think the Celtics, you could argue, are one of the most popular fan bases in the NBA. It's pretty much
most
indisputable.
Championships, tied with the Lakers.
Right. They're a historic organization, right? The Dallas Mavericks aren't really historic. They've won 1 ring in their entire history, and that was thanks to Dirk, not Dak. Dirk Nowitzki, in 2011, right? So yes, so they're a much more historic franchise. I think they're more of a global franchise as well. Not as much as the Bulls or the Lakers, but you could argue the Celtics are there. Sure. So that's one thing, right? If you have such a large fan base, you're going to acquire, or you're going to attract a lot of people to your games. You're going to, increase your jersey sales, licensing, all this kind of stuff, right? And then you also get the revenues from making the playoffs and the finals, actually, which I didn't really know much about. So you actually you earn a bonus every single time that you participate in a round in the playoffs.
Is that from the NBA?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And do you know the numbers?
I do know the numbers, actually, cool. if you want to know. So I actually did the calculation, right? So I was wondering, okay, how much would a team win if they won it all? What's the number? Cool. And it came out to about $10.5 million. So you get a $10.5 million check from the NBA if you basically crusade through the playoffs and you win the finals.
Is that a fair amount?
That's a different question, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I would say that I think NBA players, in comparison to all of the other sports leagues in the U.S., actually earn the highest amount of the revenue share.
Yeah, they
compared
do.
to they get 51% based off the new CBA.
Yeah.
So is it fair? I mean, I'm not going to complain if the players were making more.
Yeah, fair.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
But to answer your question, I'll rattle them off real quickly. So teams in the first round, each team that makes the first round gets $453K.
Okay.
Teams in the conference semifinals, so round 2, they each get about $550,000.
Okay.
Teams in the conference finals get about $920K. Okay, so you're slowly climbing up. And then the losing team in the NBA finals gets $3.6 million.
Damn.
So the Mavs or the Celtics this year are going to, one of them is going to earn at least about $3.5 million just from the NBA. And then the winning team will get $8.5 million from the NBA.
That's a lot of bread. Dude.
It's a lot of bread. And you know what's kind of crazy is that was actually an 80% increase from the year before. So for whatever reason, they decided we're going to pay the winner of the finals 80% more than we did last year.
Weird.
Yeah, it is weird. But maybe it's even more of an incentive to just play to
go
win.
All in. They are trying to. They don't want teams tanking anymore. I think that's like as clear as they can be with their intention on like we don't want tanking in this league at all, right? Like the Pistons have been the worst team in the league for 3 years in a row. They haven't gotten the first overall pick. They haven't even gotten a top 4 pick.
Yeah, that sucks.
So it's like it's working, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's so rough.
Yeah, I feel bad.
I would hate to be a Piston fan.
Yeah, sorry boys, but yeah. Anyways,
yeah.
Real quick, back to the Celtics and Mavs kind of like valuation. If you're the Celtics, you're such a, like you said, more of a well-known brand. They have been around since day one. They've had 17 championships.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you make the argument that they should be valued more? Like they should be out. What'd you say the word was? That their revenue should be way higher than the Mavericks?
I mean, yeah, like if you want to say it should be, sure, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down to performance, right? It's like, how do you run the organization?
Yeah. How
good are you at marketing yourself? And also, how relevant are you today? And, the Celtics are always a relevant team, but I think that the Celtics have a lot of, there's a lot of people that don't like the Celtics. I think that like this, it's
true.
kind of this. It's like what Drake said. What is it? A 1v20 or something in the diss, right? I think it's like that with the Celtics.
That's
to be
a good
fair.
point. Yeah. A lot of people hate him.
Yeah, I think so.
We hate him.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
it's a history there. But
they just press the dislike button real fast.
Yeah, for real, bro. That band. So I think that's actually a really big reason why. Like I have a feeling that if you were to survey the global fan base, they would probably say the Lakers and Bulls are their top 2 favorite teams.
Yeah.
You wouldn't really hear as much with the Celtics.
That's a good point. Okay,
so
makes sense.
I think another reason why, well, I don't know if this is a reason why, but what I found interesting was when I looked at the geographies, right? You got Dallas in Texas, and then you got Boston in Massachusetts. And I'm thinking, all right, let me just try to understand who has the greater potential here, right? And this is also in continuation of our conversation from episode 1 when I was talking about the total, the TAM, right? The total addressable market, right? Which refers to the maximum amount of people that you can reach globally, right? So I shrunk it down. I was like, what's the sustainable addressable market, right? Now, what that means is that it's basically what portion of the market is actually realistically possible. What can you actually get if you just do it right?
Okay,
just do it right.
Cool. I like this.
It's like, okay. It's like, all right. So what's interesting about the Celtics is that they're the only team that represents an entire region in the United States, just like the Patriots do in the NFL. It's New England.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm not mistaken, there's about 6 states that would be considered. I'm probably going to miss one. Sorry. But it's Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Maine. Right?
You got 'em,
Yeah. So that's about 15 million people.
Wow.
Because at first I was like, okay, well, what's the population of Boston? Well, if you look at Boston, just literally core Boston, it's like 600,000 people, 650,000 people.
Interesting. I never even thought about it like that. Okay,
right,
cool.
Right?
And then Texas has 3 teams?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, right. So the Celtics could represent 15 million people theoretically, at least immediately, right? Then, of course, this is a very simple argument. We're not going to take into account all the fans that travel, the nomads,
for
whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And as you said, Dallas is competing with 2 other people at home, but Texas has a population of 30 million people.
Damn.
Right? It's huge. It's the second largest state behind California in terms of population.
Yeah.
Right? So you would think that the opportunity is much, much greater until you realize you're dealing with the Rockets and the Spurs, which are 2 also historic organizations, I would argue. I think the Spurs have been a little bit more relevant in terms of actually winning, right? But San Antonio and Houston are both in Southern Texas.
Yeah.
So you can kiss Southern Texas goodbye.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah,
And maybe even Southeast and Southwest Texas. So you really just have like Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, which is like the greater Dallas area, which is about like 8.1 million people, and then maybe parts of Northern Texas.
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn, okay, this is interesting. The Mavs have more competition at home, right?
Yeah.
They got to work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
They got to sign players like Luka. They got to sign players like Kyrie, and they really have to win over the fans at home if they want to resonate. And maybe they are right now, and we can talk about that in a moment, right? But so the Celtics have the advantage of representing a much bigger population, but I think they're just kind of limited to that population, whereas I think that the Mavs have a greater potential, right? They can fulfill that greater potential.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
maybe, right?
And as much as this may not be a part of the discussion, I think it is. LeBron fans, big fan base, they hate the Celtics, right?
Yeah.
Luka has talked openly about how much he admires LeBron, looked up to LeBron. They can attract all those fans. And Kyrie as well. Kyrie played with LeBron. Not to bring LeBron into this shit, but like, I just feel like you're making the argument that they would be more liked by the people, like they could win over the people, consensus, right? Basically.
I think so.
And I would argue that there's a big fan base that they're not watching their favorite player play right now. So they have to latch on to somebody, right? You have to pick a side, right?
This is a huge opportunity for them.
Exactly.
Huge opportunity, man. And on that note, right, let's just talk about the Mavericks for a second. Man, Cuban sold the team at a really interesting time.
Yeah. Should he have waited? If they win this year.
Well, here's the thing. He still owns 27%.
Yeah,
of
team,
course. Right. And he's actually still managing the team, by the way.
Yeah.
He's not the official governor anymore, so he doesn't have the highest decision-making power. It's now Paul Dumont, which is Paul Dumont is the son-in-law of the woman who basically bought the team, right? And I can talk about them in a second. But do I think he sold at the wrong time? Kind of, it's like a yes and no question, because it's like he netted $3.5 billion in cash. He just got $3.5 billion in his pocket.
The ROI is insane, right? But at the same time, I could still make the argument it would have been more insane if they win a championship, right?
Yeah, I mean, but he still has $1.2 billion worth of cash in the business.
Yeah.
So right, so if they go
he's
up,
pretty regardless,
he's
bro.
sitting pretty regardless.
We're arguing
right? So
like
it doesn't even matter.
Exactly,
it doesn't even matter.
He's good, bro. He's laughing with all the hundreds.
No, it ain't even hundreds, bro. Those are.
He's the dude who's sitting in the bed of money, just like, damn.
Yeah, shit. What do I do with this shit?
Yeah, he's
yeah. But it's a really interesting. It was an interesting timing thing, and I think to prop up Dallas a little bit more. I can't believe I'm talking about Dallas like this, by the way. If you can see my hat, I cannot believe I'm talking about Dallas like this right now.
We both hate Dallas, so we're both on the same page. Fuck Dallas, baby.
Yeah. Shout out to I have a few people who are watching from Dallas.
No. Fuck the Cowboys, but not fuck Dallas. I got family in Dallas, but fuck the Cowboys.
But to be fair, I mean, look, the Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in the world.
Yes.
Sports franchise in the world.
They're America's team.
$9.2 billion at least. So when I look at that, I'm like, well, the precedent is there. The precedent for financial success and becoming a sports hub. There already are a sports hub, but a larger sports hub is there.
Wait, that's a great point, dude. What about all those Cowboys fans?
Exactly.
Oh, hey, let's go root for the Mavs, right?
Exactly.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential there. And now it's just a matter of being relevant. And when you win one ring, and I think they've only featured in one final since Dirk played, right? I'm pretty sure. If you only winning one ring in a span of like 14, 15 years, it's not the best cadence, but that could change now, right? Because I could say the same thing about the Celtics. The Celtics haven't won since 2008? Exactly. And I mean, they've made the finals a few times, but they haven't won. So if anything, this is why I think they're very similar. Because I think that they're both just trying to become relevant again. It's weird to say that about the Celtics.
They want to be superpower. They want to be a superpower again.
Yeah. I really don't want to mark this. The Celtics are super relevant. Like, they're always relevant. I can't say they're irrelevant. I think that would be a mistake. But I think you know what I mean.
You're only referring to consistent finals appearances, consistent championships.
Yeah.
It can't be far and few between, right? And with both teams, they're very lucky because they're stacked with young talent. They're both very young teams. You may not think about them in that way, but they are. And they both, in my opinion, have great front offices, right? We talk about the Celtics they were pretty much the favorites going into the season, I believe. If not, they should have been, right? But the Mavericks were not. They just acquired PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, those guys have been massive for that growth. I believe they're 32-14 since acquiring both of them, which is like, that's crazy. Yeah. But you got to give credit to the front office for putting all that together, getting Kyrie, drafting Derek Lively. Like, I'm like, those are some incredible decisions. Mm-hmm. Those are some potential championship winning decisions, right? So I got to give credit where credit is due. They're set up for long-term success, not just in the short term.
No, it's a great point. I mean, on that note, I mean, do you think the Celtics are in the same position in terms of being set up for future success that way, or do you think that they're more on a rockier boat?
That's the rockier boat part of the question is funny because you never know, right? I mean, I don't know, man. As long as Tatum and Brown are in a Celtics uniform, the window's open. But if they don't win this year, they might press the panic button. You never know, right? I don't think they should. Mazzulla's I think the youngest head coach to make the finals in who knows how many years, 35. He might be the youngest head coach to make the finals. I'm not 100% sure, but I saw a stat about something related to that. Tatum, Brown, they're both 25, 24, 26.
Still young.
Don't panic if you lose. But if they lose and they panic, it is rockier because I promise you if the Mavs lose, nobody's panicking. They're probably like, all right. I'm sure Luka's going to have 2 games at least in this series where everybody is like, oh shit. Like he might give him a year or 2. He'll win one, right? And with Tatum and the Celtics, there's a lot of discussion on, can Tatum win you a championship? Can Tatum be the best player on a championship team? If Tatum's this young, potential face of the league, why don't I feel it more throughout the playoffs? There's more little rumblings there that kind of like could disrupt it.
Yeah.
I believe it's all just noise. I don't believe you should listen to that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I don't know what the front office is thinking. I know that I would hope that they're not like, man, if we lose, we're going to blow it up. But it's definitely on the table.
Yeah. And, I don't want to stray away from that because I think it's a really good point. But I remember we were talking on our last episode, like Tatum's number 2 or 3 in jersey sales too, right? So there's an important kind of economic consideration there as well. Like before you blow it up, right? It's, he's still selling jerseys. Like you're still selling tickets. Like you're still a large market team. Like
I would actually say, bro, I think the Tatum discourse has gone too far.
Yeah.
He's 25.
Yeah.
Like what? He's 25 and they're great. They're in the finals. He hasn't lost yet. Let's wait until he loses. Let's wait until he potentially has a bad game when they need him the most. He's having, in my eyes, he's having a great playoffs. Maybe not like a superstar playoffs, but they haven't been in enough situations where they need him to, oh man, game 6, game 7. We need you, bro. Put up 50. I believe if he was put in that situation, he would shine, right? And I think last year, when they were playing the Sixers, it was the third quarter. He had like 2 points or something like that. And on Twitter, it was just, fuck Jason Tatum. I knew he was a fraud. And then in the fourth quarter, he has like 17 points or something crazy like that. I'm like, dude, give him some time. Let his story play out before you cast judgment, right? So I would just go easy on him. Give him some time. Give him some time.
I think they became kind of a victim of their early success. At such a young age, man. The standards become so high for you.
In his rookie year, he yammed on Braun.
I remember that.
And everyone was like, oh shit, this guy might be the truth.
Yeah.
And you forget that he was 19 or 20 years old when that happened.
Yeah.
So it's like, bro, he wasn't even supposed to be in that situation. That organization was they were so well structured that it put them in a position to have that success maybe too early. Because now it's like people are already getting tired of Tatum when I'm like, why? But it's because they have felt like, man, we've seen you in this situation enough. Are you going to get past it or not? Right? So it's like, I understand it, but you might be right. It might have just been a little too early to be that good, right? And that year, Gordon Hayward broke his ankle.
Yeah.
I think Kyrie was dealing with an injury. Yeah, I mean, Kyrie didn't play against the Cavs that year, but he was on the team. He was hurt. And it put Tatum in a situation where he's like, well, nobody else is here. I got to do it, right? I don't know. It's weird. The discourse is so weird to me because I'm like, it's all there. You said he was first team All NBA. He's second.
Yeah.
He's second in jersey sales. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why are we? I don't understand, bro.
Yeah.
I don't understand. But I think I get it to an extent. But it's like, man, if you're one of those people, look at your own life first. Just leave him alone, man.
Yeah, that's facts, right? That's facts. That's facts. I think, you were crediting the front offices of these teams, and I think with the Celtics, I'd give them some credit because they're patient, right? They don't listen, or they're not instinctive or reactionary, I should say, to all this commentary from the fan base and from people in the NBA. I think they really have that conviction in Tatum and Brown and their core unit to stick it through until it actually yields some success. So
to answer the question, who has the most to gain? The Mavericks franchise or the Celtics franchise?
Who has the most to gain? I want to say the Mavs.
Okay.
I think one thing I also wanted to mention was that the Mavs still have a lot to work on in terms of popularity, in terms of engagement with fans. What's actually interesting is that Luka was number 6 in jersey sales.
I was going to ask you that, actually. Yeah, interesting.
So he's not far behind. Like, he's right behind Giannis.
Okay.
And I bet you, if after this finals, whether they win or lose, I think he'll be like at least number 5, maybe number 4, because Wemby's sitting at number 4 right now.
I was at work and this kid he was like, hey, can we play basketball? I was like, sure. But I was like, I'm going to cook you. And then he goes, me? He's like, I'm going to go Luka Doncic on you. I'm like, oh, okay. So Luka's starting to get, bro, the trash talk, everybody loves. And Luka is like A+ trash talker, right? He runs his fucking mouth and he drops 20 in the first quarter. And, when they played against the Suns, 2 years ago, he was in Devin Booker's face, so people love that shit, right? So if he, for any reason, pops off like that in the finals, it just takes him to a whole nother stratosphere, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But I think the answer for who has the most to lose is pretty obvious, right?
It's the Celtics.
Yeah, of course, man. If they lose, it is bad.
Explain. Can you explain that to me a little bit more? Just like, I think more from like an objective perspective, right? It's, obviously the fans are just longing for success, but why would it actually be bad for them?
Tatum would be 0-2 in the finals, and I think people would be like, we got to break Jalen and Jason up. And I think the public perception, everyone would panic, and that's not what you want, right? Also, the Celtics, clear path to the finals, face no crazy adversity. I'm not discounting the fact that they obviously played tough games, but come on, bro. Pacers without Halliburton, the Cavs only playing like Donovan Mitchell 3 times.
I mean, he got hurt, right? He was on the sideline for the last few games.
And then the first...
There's Bucks without, right? Or am I tripping? Oh, sorry.
Heat without Jimmy.
Yeah.
This would be an objectively bad look if you have the best record in the league. I believe they were 65-17. Swept, not obviously they didn't sweep, but pretty much swept through the entire Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And you lose the finals against a team that was basically formed mid-season. Obviously the Mavs had Luka and Kyrie, but like I said, they didn't start to hit their stride until they acquired Gafford and PJ, right? You can't lose to a team that is only just now really developing their chemistry. When you guys, Jason and Jalen, have been on the same team for how many years now? It's like, okay, you have to win now. You're the favorite. You've been the favorite the whole year. You've been the best team. What's the excuse if you lose, right? And then, not that any team is well structured to contain Luka and Kyrie, but at the same time, you have Derek White and Drew Holiday for a reason. Like they're not going to stop them. But if there's any team that can give them the most problems, it's this team. They're well structured to beat anybody in the league. So there is no excuse.
Well said.
Yeah.
Can't argue against that.
Yeah. And I don't want that to happen. I don't like the Celtics at all, but I don't want them to like choke bad. I'd feel bad for some reason.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
And I think we all want to see really good finals. We want to see something competitive. I would love to see it 6 or 7 games, man. Like really. And I think also financially, it would really benefit both of their both of these teams, all of the players and all their local communities. I mean, just kind of how I started this conversation, which, I was going to say, there was a report that came out that apparently Boston is expecting to make $10 million every single game that they host for the finals.
That's
for
awesome.
The local community. The more, the merrier for everyone.
Yep.
Right. It's just a win-win all around. And then for the Mavericks, right? So we said, okay, it's pretty obvious that the Celtics have the most to lose. What about the Mavericks, right? I kind of gave my opinion, right, about the potential that they could have. But do you have any other differing opinions about what they could gain from winning this finals? Do you have any opinions about what would happen to Kyrie since he's an older player compared to the younger roster?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I actually think if Kyrie wins, you're asking me in terms of like what would they have to gain?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I would say Kyrie solidified. So he didn't make All NBA, top 75? He didn't make that roster.
Oh, what the fuck?
Bullshit.
What?
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's whack. That's
right?
very
I
whack.
think it was because at the time he was under a lot of public scrutiny and stuff. Bro, if he wins this, he's in 25 years, he'll be in the top 100. That's two-time finals winner. And I'm sure if they win, he'll have a bunch of big plays where it's like, oh my God. But Kyrie, in his own world, in his own legacy, he has a lot to gain. The Mavs, like you're talking about brand, they could be, bro, Wemby's coming, right? So that the Spurs brand is only going to come back to,
it's actually,
right?
Yeah, it's a good point.
So you have the spotlight right now, take it, right? You have to take it while the iron is hot, right? And Luka as well, if he wins and does it in his fashion, come on, bro. He's the next face of the league, right? I saw a tweet that said, it was a meme. I'll put it up right now. It's the NBA media tries to prop up these guards, and Luka beats them every single time, right? He beats the shit out of them, and then it looks like not even close. I think it was Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, and SGA, and every single time Luka just makes it clear that he's just a level above.
Yeah.
Now, if he wins the finals, he's now a level above everybody.
And he would win at 25?
Yeah.
Would that be the youngest ever? Or am I tripping?
No, Kobe.
Okay,
yeah, Kobe. I'm not sure that Kobe's the youngest ever, but Kobe won it when he was like 21, 22.
Okay, I didn't know
with
that.
Shaq. Yeah,
Yeah,
so we'll see. But I definitely think it's the Mavs, and I definitely see there's so many avenues. The brand becomes more recognizable. Luka, Kyrie, Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
We're not even, the front office. But Jason Kidd, to me, gets a lot of scrutiny for some reason. I don't understand why. I believe he's an excellent coach. Almost A+.
Ooh.
But I don't feel like he's viewed in that light because maybe he's not sitting there and telling you guys, listen, this is my breakdown of this decision and this is how exactly we look at it. Maybe he's not as thorough in his explanation of it, and people get this perception that he's not basketball genius, right? And it gets lost in translation. And I noticed that he has a great relationship with Kyrie, a great relationship with Luka. Derek Lively speaks so highly of him. PJ Washington, everybody has good things to say. LeBron James talks super highly of him when he was the assistant coach with the Lakers, right? They won a championship. Jason Kidd was the assistant coach.
Right.
He's won a championship with the Mavericks. Now he can win it as a coach with the Mavericks, right? So a lot to gain there as well. And then that front office gets their vindication. When they traded for Kyrie, everybody was like, the Mavs are stupid. This is never going to work. What are you fucking talking about, right?
Yeah.
Two of the best bucket getters of all time on the same team. And now, like, everybody gets to basically say, I told you, we were right. So I'm excited.
Random question. I remember, I think it was the TNT commentators. I don't know if is Reggie Miller one of the commentators on TNT? Remember, I think they were saying, like, do you think that backcourt is more talented than Steph and Clay?
Yeah, duh.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not better shooters, but Clay and Steph are not getting buckets like Kyrie and
So you think
Luka.
they have more all-around talent? I'm just curious. Like,
yeah, I mean, Steph is Steph, right?
Yeah.
I'm not shitting on Steph, bro, ever in my life. But
damn, you fall in my trap.
But Clay, I think Clay's incredible as well. Again,
of course. I mean, we gotta respect the legends,
right?
Man. They're legends. Yeah,
we're
4 rings, bro.
We're having best of all time conversations.
Yeah.
So you got to be splitting hairs, right?
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I think we were talking last weekend, and I told you, I was just really thinking one night, put any defender you can possibly think of in front of Kyrie Irving. He can get a bucket on every single defender.
Yeah.
I can't say the same thing about Klay Thompson. Yeah. Come on, bro. So with all due respect, right?
Yeah.
Klay's much better defensively. He's a much better 3-point shooter. Kyrie clears him in everything else, though. And Luka, and I mean, it's not even fair to do the Luka and Steph thing because Luka might end up winning more rings. Luka might end up winning more MVPs, right? So who knows, right?
Yeah.
I would say right now it looks like Luka can be better than him. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, if you're starting this early, you have a lot to your advantage. Yeah.
And, we talked about it last night. You were telling me we should have seen this shit coming with Luka. 16 years old, MVP of the EuroLeague, winning titles over there. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Supposedly, he took that league by storm, bro. He basically put his nuts all over it.
At 16, dude,
at
imagine
16, 17.
Against grown-ass men.
Yes.
Jeez.
And being the best on the court.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it's like, Steph, with all due respect, we need a different backcourt to also compare them to, because now I feel like we're just shitting on Steph a little bit.
Yeah, we should. Yeah,
but it's like, we've never seen this. We've never seen this level of bucket getting on one team.
Yeah.
It's the most special backcourt I've ever seen.
And the cherry on top is that he's also an international player.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
On that theme as well, which is such an interesting tide for the NBA right now. I mean, speaking of the NBA, okay. I remember you were asking me.
I was going to ask you.
Okay.
I was going to ask
you. Go ahead, ask me.
Speaking of the NBA.
Yeah.
Do you think that they would have a preference on the Celtics winning or the Mavs winning? Obviously, they want 7 competitive games going into triple overtime. But like, if you were in the league office, right? Because last week we talked about, we were like, every face of the league has been American. Can an international player be the face of the league? And now we're looking at it with this 25-year-old kid potentially ready to take that baton and maybe not give it back.
Yeah.
So if you're the league, what do you think you prefer?
Ooh. I think I'm gonna say the cop-out answer. I don't think they have a preference.
I agree.
However, this is tough, man, because it's like, okay, the way I'm thinking about this is, one, you either you cater to a very large fan base like the Celtics, or you give the baton to the kid who might truly deserve it.
Right.
Because if you everything that you've said, right? He has the personality, he has the trash talking, he has the play. And, it's a shame that we didn't talk about him more in our previous conversation, but I'm glad that we at least acknowledged him, right? Because at the end of the day, we never arrived at an answer, right? It's still open. The West is still open. We don't really know.
Yeah. Even if Luka wins this year, it's still open,
exactly, right? We really, exactly.
You need that consistent, he needs to make the finals 3 or 4 more times, right?
Right.
And win most of them, right?
And the journey to these finals on the Western side was not easy.
Yep.
It was not easy.
They went through OKC, they went through Minnesota, and the Clippers.
Yeah. That's what a
great head coach in Ty Lue, the best team in the West with the OKC Thunder, and then an incredible defensive team in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Not easy at all, bro.
Yeah.
Not easy at all.
So, that's one thing. So, to answer your question, I don't think they have a major preference. I think, like you said, I think that they would rather see a finals that plays out to 6 or 7 games. However, my answer would actually lean more toward they need ratings.
Yeah.
They need ratings, man. If we want to narrow down to one simple answer,
I like that.
They need ratings. And if I had to give you a number, okay, so last year's finals averaged around 11.6 million, I believe, right, between the Nuggets and the Heat. The thing is, so it's a really interesting time right now for the NBA. It's a critical juncture because they're currently negotiating their media rights deals for the next however many years. Could be 10 years, could be 11 years, right?
And it was supposed to be finalized around soon, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know if there's a specific deadline.
Everyone was talking as if it was almost done.
It feels that way, right? It feels.
But I feel like now they're like, well, hold on, let's see how this finals plays out.
Exactly, right? And if I'm a broadcaster, I would kind of be like, oh, let's wait a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us a few weeks. Let's see what this is really worth.
Yeah.
Right? First of all, that $75 billion price tag is insane to me. Quick note, because that's a 3x markup on their current media rights deal, which was $24 billion over the course of 9 years.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right.
It's 3 times as much.
Doesn't sound
but your
right
ratings
to me.
are going down, or they're kind of hovering, like they're volatile. They're not consistently linear or going up. And then to give you more context, right, when the NFL renegotiated their media rights in 2021, it was a 2x markup. So they went from getting $5.9 billion a year to getting about $10 billion a year, right? So now they're bringing in like $110 billion over the course of 10 years, but that's only twice the amount, not 3. So
it won't be 75.
So that jump in growth for the NBA doesn't make sense to me when you look at how the NFL is consistently growing in their ratings and they get the 2x markup and you're asking for a 3x markup, but your ratings are kind of suffering. Right. So that's the first point I wanted to make. In terms of a number, well, first, I think the worst case scenario is you need to match or slightly exceed your ratings.
I think matching is not good enough.
Well, that's why I said worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I said worst case scenario, right?
Okay.
If you get below that, forget worse. Like pick a word that's worse than worse, right? It's hellish.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I would say you got to aim for at least 15 million.
Yeah, I was going to say 12 is not enough. 13 might not be enough.
Yeah, I would say 15 million.
Yeah.
And the reason I say 15 million is because that was a pre-pandemic level. And that was still lower compared to previous years before that. But that was the 2019 level. It was like 15.2 they averaged over the course of the finals. And that was, who was in 2019? That was the Raptors, when the Raptors won against the Warriors.
Yeah.
Right? And then the next year in 2020, when the bubble final was 7.4, which is abysmal. That's like the worst ratings they've gotten in the last 25 years.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a little bit of sense.
It does.
The loss of cable and stuff for a lot of people, but yeah.
Of course, right? But, if we want to just take into consideration the last 4 or 5 years of how they have been performing, it's been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right? So 15 million would be my number where you need to aim for. Like, that's a success in my eyes. It shows that you have recovered from pre-pandemic levels and that you're back. That the NBA is back.
I'd say 15 and 6 games. Minimum.
Please. I hope.
6. It's got to go 6 minimum, dude.
Yeah, I feel like you almost need to go 6 or 7 to rake in numbers like that. You kind of have to.
I agree completely.
You have to. So that would be my answer. I think they need to focus on ratings. And it's interesting because they are negotiating their media rights deals. So it's like, can y'all finesse that price tag or not?
I don't think so, bro. I think even if it's 15, I don't think that they get to that $75 billion price tag. Makes no sense to me. They're not. I don't see them as worth that at all.
I don't either. They probably will rake in 50. I think they probably should.
That's realistic to me.
That's the 2x markup.
Yeah,
that makes way more sense.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, because like if you think about it, right, they're bringing in $2.4 billion a year in total right now for their media rights deals. Now Disney's going to be paying them even more than that. Just one partner alone is going to be paying them that, supposedly. Right, 2.6. NBC is threatening for TNT's rights. They're trying to take the rights from Warner Bros. They offer $2.5 billion. So imagine the NBA is like, oh, well, if that's the case, if that's true,
yeah.
And then you have Amazon offering 1.8 on top of that.
Yeah,
that's a lot of damn money.
Well, actually, super quick side note: can TNT get in there on like a D-level package?
Maybe.
Like, hey, can we get Monday nights? Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know how that would work out. But anyway, okay. So you think 15 would be like big thumbs up and realistic?
Yes.
Right. I think I would agree. 15 and I say 6 games, and I'm not sure you get to 15 if you don't get those 6 games.
I think I would agree with that.
Yeah. So that I like that. Real quick, we talked about who has the most to gain, and I forgot to mention Jason Tatum real quick.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
We're talking about him like he's a dead man walking, everyone's talking about him like he has, it's like, you better, they have the gun to his head and it's like, you better win finals MVP and you better win this and you better show that it's almost like we're tired of you, right? If he goes out there and beats him in 6 or even 7 and he averages 30 points a game. Okay, Eastern Conference Finals, he averaged the most points, rebounds, and assists on the team, I believe, and steals. And he didn't win MVP. And in my opinion, it was because Jaylen Brown had the better game 4. And I think Jaylen Brown only won by like 2 or 3 votes. It was close. And I think, obviously we don't promote gambling, but the odds at the end of game 4 for who was going to win that, Jason Tatum was at a minus 1,700.
Yeah, wow.
So he should have won, right? And that's why I feel bad for him, because I'm like, he should have won that.
Yeah.
Although I love Jaylen Brown. I'm happy for him. And they asked him, hey, how's it feel to win it? He's like, oh, it feels amazing. I never win this shit, right? So it's nice for him to have that moment as well, right?
Fair enough.
So, but back to Tatum. If he's the best player of this finals, and he has that big fan base, that big Celtics fan base, dude, he could take this away from Luka, right? If he has that level of finals, right? Now, he's also, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see him guard Luka a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Jaylen Brown guard Luka a little bit. He has potential to really solidify and stamp himself. I just wanted to give him a little 30 seconds to 45 seconds, just a little. I don't know. I didn't even bring him up, and I feel bad. You know, I'm sitting here like, damn, bro, we just disregard him.
That's bad. That needs to be that needs to be amended. Like, we really need to change our perspective a little bit. And you're right. At least I hope it's a good finals. Like, if it goes 6 or 7, even if they don't win, the respect is still there. I mean, but I still agree that there's going to be a lot of flack if they don't. Of course, the pressure is on them. I mean, on that note too, you know, with the matchups real quick, I just want to pick your brain a little bit. Let's just talk about some on-court stuff real quick. Cool. Right. Okay. How do you see the matchups lining up, right? What makes sense to you in terms of who should be guarding who? Obviously, I would think the Celtics are the better defensive team. So how would that pan out for the Mavericks? You know, how do you see these things playing out?
I'm confused as to who's going to be guarding Derek White and Drew Holiday. Now, I know that because I think they'll start by putting PJ Washington on Jason Tatum. They'll start by putting Derek Jones Jr. on Jaylen Brown. And obviously the centers. And then can Luka and Kyrie, because Derek White likes to run around a lot of screens. He's not a super easy guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's going to be guarding him is going to be having to run around a little bit. So I'm like, is that Kyrie? Is that Luka? I would say it's probably Kyrie who's guarding Derek White and Luka guarding Drew, which is just super interesting to me. How, if you're the Celtics, can you exploit Kyrie and Luka a little bit on defense? That's number one. Can Jason Tatum completely dominate that PJ Washington matchup as well? Another thing I'm very curious about. Because if he does early, if Jason Tatum has 30 points in game 1 and it's PJ guarding him, they'll move it and it'll be Derek Jones Jr. because he's their best defender, right? But I don't think you start with the best defender just in case, you know, you want to see what you can get away with, right? On the offensive side of the ball for the Mavs, obviously you're going to have, we talked about this last night. I think it's Drew guarding Luka, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But the argument there, if he cooks him, I'm like, yo, put Jaylen Brown on him. That would be my go-to right away. But I'm not sure. And then who guards? I would say it's Derek White guarding Kyrie.
Yeah, right? I mean, I feel like you have to put your most mobile player on Kyrie.
Yeah, and you made the argument that it should potentially be Drew guarding Kyrie because he's more mobile.
If he's more mobile.
He is, and I actually don't mind that as well. That's what makes the Celtics so good, bro. They're so interchangeable. You could put Jaylen on Kyrie. You could put Jaylen on Luka. And you don't have to worry too much. Dude, this is huge. The role players need to play well.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Teams have shown, against the Mavericks, teams have shown they'll allow the corner threes. That's what they're willing to live with. PJ Washington needs to hit those corner threes.
Yeah.
Derek Jones Jr., not a great shooter, but he's shot well throughout these playoffs. He needs to shoot well as well. Even, if he's 2 for 2 from behind the 3-point line, just something, right? Make him feel like you're even a little bit of a threat.
Yeah.
If not, I say that I could see the Mavs playing Maxi Kleber a little bit. I could see them playing Josh Green, Tim Hardaway, Jaden Hardy a little bit. They're going to be looking for someone who can really knock down those shots to give more openings for Kyrie and Luka, to the basket, right? And then I would say it kind of does suck a little bit that none of their centers can stretch the floor. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. Not that they need to, but with Kristaps potentially back, he's a big rim protector. He'll make it tough on him, bro. He'll make it tough on him.
It will be a tough one.
I'm not sure. I could see this happening. I could see the Mavs playing Maxi Kleber at the 5 to just stretch out the floor a little bit. He can shoot the ball as well.
Yeah.
He could hold his own against a guy like Al Horford very well. Kristaps as well. I mean, Kristaps isn't like a big post-up player like that. So I could see them experimenting with that, right? We'll see what production level you get from the centers from Dallas. Derek Lively's switchable. So you could see him out on the perimeter a little bit. I'm sure that they'll test it. And I think he's up for the challenge. I'm very interested to see what he looks like defensively. And I think I think the argument's there that the Mavs are the deeper team.
Interesting.
I think they are.
Because I feel like I've heard that about the Celtics a lot, but
the Celtics only play like 7 players. 8. I was thinking about without Kristaps, they play 7.
Okay.
With Kristaps, they play 8. And the 8th guy his name's Sam Hauser.
Yeah.
And I just don't see him. I don't see him playing as much this series because they'll put him on an island.
Yeah.
They'll make him guard Kyrie and Luka.
You know, it's funny with him. You know, I'm not too hip to the Celtics roster, but when I was doing my research, you know, part of the NBA bonuses that get paid out to the teams that win the finals, I was reading that Sam Hauser and one other bench player would get a 40% increase in income if they win the finals that year.
Damn.
Yeah. So they're actually incentivized to play very well.
Wow.
All of the role players on these teams, I mean, on that note, right, are incentivized to play extremely well, while kind of the superstars they're not playing for money, because like the amount that they'll earn is literally negligible compared to the super maxes that they signed and all the contract money. So just on that point.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's cool. But yeah, no, I think the Mavs are a deeper team, but the Celtics are more well-rounded. Does that make sense?
Do you think it'll be like a shootout, or do you think it'll be much more defensive?
Dude, if it's a shootout, the Mavs, they got the 2 best bucket getters of all time potentially. Yeah. So it's like, man, you don't want to get in a shootout with those guys, because I'm sitting here thinking to myself like, bro, if this goes 7, I would not blame anybody who's like, oh yeah, the Mavs are gonna win this, because it's game 7. It's a
big statement.
It comes down to just straight buckets.
Yeah,
you got the 2 of the best
and they
in the
win
world.
in TD Garden in Boston.
Oh god, that'd be crazy story. So, and you know how Luka gets when it's closeout time, bro.
Yeah.
And Kyrie, he's 15 I think 15-1 in closeout games in his career.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. We'll see. If you don't want to shoot out if you're a Celtics fan, if you're a part of the Celtics franchise in any way, no shootouts, please, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think that's like kind of my overall, I guess, view of it, breakdown. I told you I don't know who's going to, I don't have a pick yet because I want to see game 1.
Yeah, your ass put me on the spotlight last time.
Yeah. No, I can't just make a pick yet. I don't know. You know, it's too up for grabs right now.
Who would take game 1? Just an inkling.
So last night we talked about it, and you said, well, the Celtics are well-rested. And I said, well, sometimes that actually doesn't play into their advantage because the more well-rested team hasn't played in a while, right? The Mavs played more recently, right? So maybe the Mavs could take it, but I just want to see the matchups first. But if I have to pick, I would say I could see the Mavs stealing game 1.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
But I'm not sure that the panic in Celtic Nation will be insane.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would be a cause for concern.
Yeah.
Game 1s are, you know, often up for grabs, and you're feeling, you know, each other out and stuff. And Jason Kidd's very well known in game 1s he plays everybody. Not everybody, not all 15 guys.
But he's more open, like he's more experimented. Like,
so he'll play 10 or 11 guys in game 1.
Wow.
And see who matches up well. This is why I'm like, man, you never hear this.
Yeah,
from
you don't.
coach.
I mean, I'm thinking of, what's his name, bro?
Darvin Ham?
Yeah.
God damn it, dude. I was having a good day, you know.
I was like, bro, that's all you had to do.
I don't want to hear his name ever again, bro. Please, bro.
I didn't even say it.
He's exiled, bro.
You said it.
He's exiled. Anyways.
You said it.
Jason Kidd, bro. God damn it. My day's ruined now.
You're good.
Just cancel the pod. No. Jason Kidd will play 10 or 11 guys in game 1, and he'll see who matches up well. Who I guess the words would be who belongs in this series, right? So we'll see. That's why I'm excited. Because
I love that.
If Kidd finds something that works and Luka and Kyrie just get going early, they could steal game 1.
Okay.
So we'll see.
We'll see. All right, we'll see.
What else, bro? What else we got?
Well,
no, go ahead.
So, well, you know, we're talking about Tatum, we're talking about Luka, we're talking about Kyrie, and you know, we're trying to answer the question of like who has the most to gain, who has the most to lose, what are the ideal outcomes, what are the impacts of going through the finals, all of this stuff. And you know, one thing that we did want to talk about was the sponsorships, right? The endorsements, just to make it a little bit fun, because I think people fixate so much on on-court. I mean, you know, I always want to pick your brain on the on-court stuff, but we don't want to just talk about on-court stuff. For sure. It would be cool to explore like their sponsorships. I mean, you texted me a few nights ago and you're like, no matter what, you said, I think Jordan Brand and Gatorade are winning, or they're sitting sweet. Is what you said.
I said they're sitting pretty.
Yeah. So I didn't actually know that both of Luka and Jason are signed to Jordan.
Yep.
And they have their own shoes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, they do both have their own shoe.
And they're both on the second iteration of the shoe, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Luka has nice shoes. So Tatum's are all right.
Yeah, I actually like the Luka 2s.
Yeah.
I like the Luka 2s.
He loves wearing that black pair. Supposedly that black
is it like
pair
an
is
all black
favorite.
or
all black? It's triple black colorway.
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah, I'll pop it up right now. Yeah, it's supposedly his favorite one to wear. And when he pulls them out, he's in the zone, bro. It's like wearing black Air Forces, basically.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Actually, I'm gonna keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
That's a good little I've
also
egg.
seen him wear the pink edition, which they're sweet. I actually kind of like his shoe. They almost resemble a cleat in a weird way.
It's funny because he does come from Europe and he did play on Madrid. He did have a deal with Nike, I think, before he signed with Jordan, right?
Interesting.
So he kind of has that, that element a little bit, kind of that influence, I should say.
I guess. So we said Gatorade, Jordan.
Yeah,
they both have a lot or nothing to lose here. They're like, we don't care who wins.
Oh, they're
I
getting
hope
exposure.
That one of them wins Finals MVP and we're good, right?
Yeah,
they're just hoping that they're hoping that Kyrie doesn't win Finals MVP and that Jaylen Brown doesn't win Finals MVP, and they're happy.
Anta, the Kyrie's.
Yeah. I actually like him.
Do you?
Have you seen him?
No, actually, I haven't seen him. I should pull him up.
Yeah, pull him up.
Why do you? What are your thoughts on that? Kind of curious.
Well, I just like athletes that branch out and try something different. I liked when athletes were signing with Puma. I liked when Melo Ball was trying to make his own shoe with his family. Obviously, it was poorly executed, but I like the idea. I'm all for innovation. And I believe that Klay Thompson's actually signed with Anta, and I believe somebody else is as well, but I can't remember.
Is it a Chinese company?
Yeah, I think so.
China.
And and Kyrie has his own shoe with them, actually.
Yeah.
So they're nice.
The Kai ones, is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so.
Kai ones.
They're nice.
Yeah, it is interesting that they're branching out. I wonder how much that deal was. I actually don't know. What I do know is like Luka's deal with Jordan, because I tried to figure out Jason Tatum's and I couldn't, but I think Luka's was $75 million for 5 years.
Wow.
And you know what's funny? I wanted to kind of take a blast in the past and look up when Jordan signed his shoe deal with Nike for the first time.
20?
What's up?
Was it 20 mil?
Oh no, it was
initially.
So he signed in 1984 with Nike it was way less than 20, bro.
Yeah, okay.
It was like $2.5 million.
Okay.
For like 5 years.
Wow. But that makes sense back then.
And so what's interesting, so he signed in 1984. The actual Air Jordan shoe didn't come out until 1985, and Nike had actually projected that it would only be 3 million in sales, and it generated $126 million.
Damn.
And Jordan had one of the conditions that Jordan had on his end was that he would get 5% of annual sales.
Wow.
Just took
off. You know what Jordan benefits from a lot? Well, obviously just his brand, but at the time there was such a need for innovation in that shoe space, and they took it. Yeah. Converse was the most well-known basketball brand at the time. I believe Larry and Magic were signed with Converse. I believe. So was Isaiah Thomas, or he might have been Reebok. But I think we underrate how much his shoes play into like his legacy, right? He's big time.
Yeah, man.
And everybody wears Jordans. You own a pair, I own a pair. Everybody wears them.
For sure.
So I think we underrate how much that plays into almost like his legacy. Maybe. I'm not sure.
No, for sure. Oh, for sure. And what's cool is that like now with the modern NBA players, I think there's only been 6 NBA players who've been signed to the Jordan brand, if I'm not mistaken. And Jason Tatum and Luka are the 2 of the 6.
Yeah, Paolo as well. There's a few other guys.
So it's an interesting club. I didn't really think about it.
Zion as well. Zion has his own shoe, I believe. It'll come to me throughout the episode. Yeah. I think like right as we stop recording, I'm going to think of the last guy. But yeah. I don't know. If I was a player, would I sign with Jordan? I wouldn't, because I don't think that there's room for me to make my own brand and my own, my own swag. Because it's named after a player.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd be a little
Jordan Luka 1 or Jordan
I don't
Tatum
like
1.
that. I don't like that. I would sign with Puma. Like, why not? It's just fun. It's different.
Okay.
Or SGA signed with Converse. That's sweet.
Yeah, he's bringing it back.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's cool. Somebody do something different. Joel Embiid signed with Skechers. I don't love it, but I appreciate it. It's something different.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the discussion.
Yeah.
So Luka Tatum, they both sponsored by Gatorade and Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Who would benefit more from winning off the court, you think? Do you have an answer? Maybe like
I'll probably say Luka.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like Luka's on the cusp of breaking.
Because I'd actually agree because Tatum's already in a lot of commercials.
A lot.
And he was in the most recent the Gatorade reopened not reopened, but they're really pushing hard right now. They just did a campaign, big commercial, had Caitlin Clark, Jason Tatum, a young Michael Jordan at the end.
Oh, wow.
It was all of the big name athletes that they had.
Okay.
But Luka wasn't in it.
Right.
And I had to confirm. I'm like, wait, is Luka not with Gatorade? Because, I mean, he's potentially the next face of the league. And I Google it and I see that he signed with Gatorade this year. Like, he should have been in that commercial as well. If you're Gatorade, you might have missed an opportunity there, right? But I think that he's not as commercially known. Commercially, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would argue that if he wins this in dominant fashion, his bank account's gonna go crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
and think about I don't know what kind. I would love to know what kind of partnerships he has back in Spain, in Slovenia.
So, yeah, it's a good point,
dude. And then the Olympics are coming up.
Yeah, that's huge.
If he has a great finals and then a great Olympics, he's gonna be well known internationally. Yeah. He would be the biggest international star in the NBA right now.
I think
Giannis.
So. I think so. And I feel like Luka resonates with a lot of younger people for some reason. Maybe because he has that trash talking component, and he's also not old. I mean, he's young.
Trash talking, but I think a lot of casual fans, or maybe not, a lot of people resonated with Steph for this reason because he wasn't 6'7", could jump out of the gym. He almost, which it was true, but he portrayed the idea of, listen, you can get like me if you just work hard. And Luka's, he's huge. He's like 6'7", but he's not fast.
Yeah.
It's all skill almost,
Very, very technical.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you could also play to that if you're Luka as well.
Apologies, our camera cut off.
Yeah.
But it ain't stopping us.
Yes, all good.
Okay.
Moving on. So we were talking about Luka and how Luka has potential to be more commercially commercial. You know what I'm saying?
Commercially viable, commercially successful.
Yes. If he wins, and because he has the history with Slovenia and Spain, and then the Olympics coming up.
Yeah.
There's a lot to gain there
for sure
for him off the court.
Yeah.
Quick little thing I wanted to talk about as well that I feel like maybe is the last thing we should touch on. Luka and Kyrie, just how successful they've been together, how long it took them to get to this point. I mean, to their credit, it only took them a half a season to really figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
they didn't even make the playoffs. Sorry, I didn't want to.
No, you're right. They didn't even make the playoffs. And I think when they first teamed up, within like their first 20 games, in the last 10 seconds, when the game's within like 3 points, they were like 0-6. The best bucket getters of all time, right? Just completely shit the bed when it was that time to win. And you would never think of that right now. When it's winning time, they turn it on. And I think it was because they were dealing with no, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. They didn't want to step on each other's toes, right? And now we've reached the point where they're clicking on all cylinders. And my hypothesis as to why is because, Kyrie talks about how when they asked, what type of growth have you seen from Luka, whatever? And he's like, I know you guys want me to answer in basketball terms, but I'm proud of the father he's becoming. I'm proud of the man he's becoming. And then when they ask, like, how often do you guys hang out? Are you guys close? He's like, oh, we have long dinners all the time. He's my road trip buddy, whatever, something like that. We go to dinners together all the time. We'll sit there for 5-6 hours just talking. And I'm like, wow, that's brotherhood, you know? And not to bring it to us, but it's the reason I think this can be successful as well, right? Like when you have that brotherhood, that bond, and then you go do something together, that brotherhood and bond comes first.
Yeah.
And then the success and the results follow.
It's essential. I mean, because you're going through a journey, right? Like you're going through a very arduous journey where there's going to be a lot of obstacles around the way. And if you don't get along with the people that you're on that journey with, you're kissing goodbye, right? No, I totally agree. And it's funny when you mentioned like this indecision on the court at first, when they first started playing together. It's interesting to me because that actually shows that they respect each other.
Yes.
Right? Versus, hey, give me the ball and you're not getting the ball. I'm keeping the ball and you're not getting the ball. Right? So if actually it's funny because it's a good problem to encounter at 100%. First. And I don't think I ever thought about it that much until we started to see them click more and kind of find success on the court as well.
Yep.
So I think that's a great point.
Man, it's worked out. It's worked out great. And I still think they could get another shooter or something for next season. and they'll be perfect.
Do you think that's all they need?
And maybe I was hoping it would be like Tim Hardaway, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll be somebody. It'll be somebody. They'll sign somebody that's a sniper and plays decent defense, and they're cooking at that point, dude.
Yeah.
Then you have all the space in the world. And then Derek Lively, Mavs fans know. I know what I'm going to say right now. Mavs fans know. That dude has been working on his three-point shot all season, right? You get clips of him like hitting maybe like 10 for 15 from the corner, and Mavs fans get excited. I get excited watching it because I love Derek Lively. But if you ever reach a world where Derek Lively can shoot the ball and stretch the floor,
that team is going to be filthy.
Yeah, they're set up for that long-term success, but it starts with Luka and Kyrie.
For sure.
It ends with Luka and Kyrie.
It's crazy, man. I didn't think it would like come to this point. I mean, I love Kyrie. Like Kyrie's one of my favorite players in terms of just pure basketball, right? That man's a baller, and he's so fun to watch. And when he first joined the Mavs, it's just like, yo, this is either gonna really work or it's gonna be fucking terrible.
Yeah,
like it's just there's no in between.
There's
no in between.
I was a little bit worried it would be the other one. I was a little bit worried it would just crash and burn.
Yeah,
and that Kyrie's career would crash and burn.
Yeah,
he desperately needed Dallas.
Yes,
and Dallas desperately needed.
It's
Kyrie.
crazy because he really went through like down years. Like he almost had not a respite, but it was like I don't even want to say hiatus because he was still playing, but when he was on the Celtics and then he was on the Nets and he was having a lot of injury troubles as well.
And the COVID stuff.
And then the locker room issues with each of these teams, man. It's like,
he was looked at as a cancer.
Yeah.
He was 30 years old and they were treating him like he was 40.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, yo, he might be out of the league.
Yeah.
What the hell? The return that the Nets got for him was like a bag of chips.
Yeah.
It was bad.
And they're probably sitting here now like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh, now you want to do, but
whatever, but I mean, but you have to understand these things too, right? It's like if you're an organization and you're a coach or you're a front office, you have to understand that locker room presence is so key. It's so important to winning a championship.
Bro, the ecosystem is everything.
Yeah.
And the I'd say that the teams that are in right now, they have great ecosystem, great teams. They, it's different styles almost.
Yeah, it is.
But it works.
Yeah.
Right. And there's more than what's the saying? There's more than one way to bake a cake. So you're seeing both different styles play out, and I'm talking locker room, chemistry, things like that.
Yeah.
You can tell that the Celtics love each other and so do the Mavs, in the locker room.
Yeah.
That always translates to on the court. Right. Yeah. So obviously big shout out to them. Last thing I wanted to say before we potentially stop recording. I saw a tweet that said, the Mavericks winning would be great for the league and great for basketball, right? And I go through the comments and they're saying, oh, why do you say that? Whatever. And he goes, the Celtics play ChatGPT basketball, it's all 3-pointers, all layups. It's, we've lost the essence of buckets, right? And I've even made the argument to my girlfriend that that the style of basketball that the Celtics play has stunted Jason Tatum's growth a little bit in late game situations because he's decentivized. Wait, is it
disincentivized?
Yeah, disincentivized to take those shots throughout the game. But when it's winning time, those shots are what wins games.
Interesting.
Right? And the Mavs live off of those buckets. That is their ecosystem. That is their bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics, they play. No, we need threes or layups. They play almost like the Houston Rockets of old, right? With James Harden, Mike D'Antoni. They're very analytically based.
Yeah, they're very systematic.
Yes, it's very, technical, right? I'm making the argument that if the Mavs win, I'm agreeing with what the tweet said. If the Mavs win, this is great for basketball. You're going to have kids out in the street wanting to, try those moves and those same exact shots, right?
Yeah.
Maybe those shots that aren't analytically great, but they still win you championships.
When you said it, like, yo, I'm going to pull a Luka Doncic on you.
Exactly.
Like,
when you say I'm going to pull a Jason Tatum.
Yeah, and when people used to say Kobe and they shoot, right? Same vibe, same sentiment.
That's a great point. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that as much as I wouldn't mind seeing the Celtics win, although I'm a Lakers fan, I shouldn't say that, but I root for Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and I like Drew Holiday as a human being. Them winning wouldn't crush my life, but seeing Luka and Kyrie win the Luka and Kyrie way would bring me ultimate joy because I've heard Kyrie very recently say, we've lost the essence of what basketball really is, and I want to bring that art back.
I love that.
That artist, he said something along the lines of, I want to bring the artistry back to basketball, and I want to make sure that the kids know that this is still how
I
you
love
get
that.
buckets,
I
right?
love that, man.
I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, this matters to me. So
Sure.
I'm definitely rooting for the Mavs, but for that reason. It's not,
Yeah.
it's because I want the essence of hoops to come back.
Yeah.
I feel like we've lost it over the past few years, right? Everybody tried to replicate what the Warriors were doing by just shooting more threes than them, or, I don't know, it's been lost, right?
Sure.
So I'm excited. I'm hoping that no matter what happens, we get a long series, and I hope that we get that essence back. And that doesn't mean that the Mavs have to win, but I would say if we go 6 or 7 and they get close, the kids will see, man. The youth will see.
Facts.
I want to get buckets like those guys, not like those guys, right? And as much as I appreciate analytics in sports, I still think we stray away from it because all real hoopers know the mid-range wins you championships.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, 6 seconds left. Yeah, if the step back three is there, sure. But you're always going to that midi.
I'm so tired of watching threes,
you
bro.
love that midi that you've worked on in the gym since you were 5 years old. Like, that's what basketball is all about.
Yeah,
so
that's facts.
I'm excited, bro. I'm excited.
We root for good basketball first and foremost. And I think
that's the most important thing.
Yes, it is. I agree. And I think we'll leave it at that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for tuning in. Second episode. Stay tuned for the third episode coming up. And in the meantime, have a great night and enjoy the NBA Finals.
Peace.